The story begins with the Zerothians, a highly advanced alien species whose empire spans galaxies and whose military is considered invincible throughout the stars they have conquered. When word reaches the High Command about humanity's sudden rise in power and their rapid technological advancements, the Zerothian leaders decide to investigate not with force, but with observation. Commander Kalthar, a battle-hardened veteran with decades of experience, is chosen for the mission. He is told his task is to visit Earth and its most prestigious military academy, the Stalwart Academy, located in the heart of the United States. He is to assess humanity's military potential and report back his findings. But there is one rule he must follow: to not underestimate the humans. This warning lingers in Kalthar's mind. As his ship enters Earth's atmosphere, the planet is unfamiliar to him, rough around the edges and small. Compared to the gleaming stars he is used to visiting, it holds a certain mystery one he is determined to unravel. Upon landing, the Zerothian delegation is greeted by a ceremonial group of humans, their uniforms pressed and their posture rigid. But it does not take long for Kalthar to notice something unsettling. The humans are not like any other species he has encountered. Their eyes are bright and full of curiosity, yet there is an energy in the air that feels wild, untamed, not structured like his own people. It is an energy that confuses him. They seem to be in a state of constant movement, their minds whirring. Even when they are still, there is no uniform calm, no controlled discipline that Kalthar is used to. It is as if the humans are alive with an untapped potential ready to explode at any moment. The sight confounds him, but also intrigues him. The delegation is led to the academy, where the first test awaits. The academy is a towering structure filled with advanced technology and military equipment, a place where humanity's brightest minds are trained for future battles. Kalthar marvels at the high-tech classrooms and war rooms, but even as he tours the facility, he feels a strange discomfort. The academy is clean, precise, but there is an undercurrent of chaos and unpredictability that runs through the halls. The cadets move in clusters, speaking quickly, gesturing with passion. Kalthar watches them interact with each other with ease and confidence, yet there is something disordered about it all, a lack of structure that he cannot quite place. Kalthar looks to his guide, who explains that humans thrive in this environment. They do not shy away from difficulty, they adapt on the fly, and their strength lies in their capacity to change quickly, to make split-second decisions based on the unknown. Kalthar is skeptical. This is not how the species trains their soldiers. Every action must be calculated. Every move must be part of a greater plan. To deviate from that plan is considered failure. But here at the academy, he is seeing something completely different. The cadets do not seem afraid to make mistakes, to experiment with new tactics. They embrace their failures and learn from them. It is a strange concept, one that Kalthar cannot easily accept. And yet, he cannot ignore the spark of brilliance in their eyes. There is something about these humans that sets them apart from every other species he has encountered, and for the first time in his long career, the mighty Commander Kalthar begins to feel a glimmer of doubt about his own superiority. The day begins with an intense training session that will mark the first real test of human military tactics. In front of the Zerothian delegation, Kalthar watches as human cadets prepare for what appears to be a simple combat exercise. It involves a simulated battle using high-tech weaponry and defensive systems. But as he observes the preparations, he notices something unsettling. The humans are not merely preparing for battle in the traditional sense. They are joking, laughing, and carrying on with each other. There is no sense of dread or overwhelming focus, as Kalthar would expect from soldiers about to engage in war. It almost seems like they are preparing for a game rather than a life-or-death conflict. The simulation begins, and Kalthar expects to see an orderly progression of strategy as the cadets move into their respective teams, but what unfolds before him is a chaotic flurry of activity that shocks him at first. There is no clear chain of command, no strict adherence to formations and tactics. The cadets break off into smaller groups, work individually, and change their plans on a whim. This is not the way Kalthar is used to seeing war fought on his home planet. The Zerothians emphasize precision and calculated steps. Each move must be deliberate and controlled, but here the humans seem to be improvising without fear. As they go along, they move unpredictably, as if they are guided by something more instinctual than logical. Private Jensen, a young woman barely out of her teens, catches Calthar's attention. She is outnumbered, surrounded by opponents who are well-armed and clearly have the upper hand, but instead of retreating or calling for backup, Jensen does something Calthar never would have expected. She uses her environment to her advantage, first causing a distraction by tossing a small explosive device into the enemy's line of sight. Then she uses the confusion to slip away undetected and reappear behind them, taking out two soldiers with swift, decisive movements. Calthar can barely process what just happened. It is a perfect blend of creativity, timing, and pure instinct that is far from any strategy. He knows the alien commander feels a twinge of fear as he realizes the humans are not merely fighting to survive. They are thinking in ways no one has ever expected. As the simulation progresses, it becomes clear that the cadets are using a form of tactics Calthar would describe as madness. They think without rules, but somehow they always seem to come out ahead. The commanders and instructors call out orders, but the cadets do not always follow them. They adjust on the fly based on what they see in the moment. Calthar watches as one cadet disregards his orders entirely and leads his group into a dangerous ambush, only to win by tricking the enemy into chasing them directly into a trap set by another group, a move that seems utterly reckless, but ends in victory. Calthar is astonished and unsettled by the display. The humans do not follow the expected path. They do not stick to their orders. They move as if driven by some unexplainable energy, something that cannot be calculated by any logic. The Zorothians use to win wars. It is a form of warfare that is beyond structured thought. It is unpredictable and far more dangerous than anything Calthar has encountered before. The Zorothian commander wonders what drives them to act this way. Why do they reject the structured approach that has served other species for millennia, and yet they win again and again? As the exercise concludes, Calthar realizes one thing with undeniable clarity: these humans are not like any enemy he has ever faced. They are not bound by the same rules of war. Their strategies are shaped by something else, something entirely alien to him. And as he watches the cadets celebrate their victory, he feels a deep unease settling in the back of his mind. The next day, Calthar is invited to observe a series of advanced war games at Stalwart Academy, designed to push the cadets beyond their limits. He arrives early, expecting to see a well-organized exercise where teams will carefully follow tactical instructions to ensure maximum efficiency. Instead, what he witnesses is far from predictable. The students are divided into opposing factions, but unlike the precise battle plans the Zorothians would employ, the humans seem to operate on a completely different wavelength. They engage in mock space battles with simulated starships using their own combat techniques and technology, but it quickly becomes apparent that their strategies are anything but conventional. Calthar watches as the cadets scramble into their ships and take off into the simulated void of space. The Zorothian commander expects them to form up in a tight battle formation, concentrating their firepower on the most vulnerable targets, but the humans defy all expectations. Instead of a methodical approach, they spread out in unpredictable patterns, darting across the simulation as if each ship is a separate entity, acting on its own instincts rather than any unified command. The cadets are improvising their maneuvers mid-flight, darting around obstacles, and using the environment itself to their advantage. Calthar feels a knot form in his stomach as he watches one of the human ships zigzag through the simulated asteroid field, dodging enemy fire with near-miraculous speed. Lieutenant Calloway, one of the top cadets, suddenly breaks off from the main group, drawing the attention of several enemy ships in a bold maneuver. He performs a seemingly reckless move, closing the distance between himself and the opposition in a way that would guarantee destruction if it were any other species. But instead, he uses a combination of misdirection and feints to trap the enemy in a position where their line of sight is completely blocked. As the enemy ships are caught off guard, Calloway's team launches a precise counterattack, taking down multiple ships in one swift motion. Calthar watches in disbelief. There is no formula to this. It is pure human ingenuity at work, a boldness that refuses to play by the rules. The exercise intensifies as the cadets begin working in smaller squads, utilizing unconventional tactics in ways that make no sense to Calthar. In one instance, a group of cadets aboard a damaged ship intentionally sacrifices part of their craft to create a massive distraction, drawing enemy fire away from a vulnerable part of their fleet. Another cadet, Sergeant Roberts, hacks into the simulation's control systems, using his skills to disable enemy defense mechanisms and turn the tide of battle without firing a single shot. The Zorothian commander is left stunned at the audacity of it all. These humans are not relying on sheer numbers or advanced technology alone. They are harnessing something deeper, something that cannot be taught in a classroom: their ability to think beyond the boundaries, to act without restraint. Calthar's confusion only deepens as the simulation continues. The humans seem to have an endless capacity to surprise. Every time he thinks they've reached their limit, they do something else that completely changes the game. Their adaptability is unnerving. When faced with overwhelming odds, they don't panic or retreat. They find ways to adapt, exploit weaknesses, and outsmart their opponents. It is this unrelenting drive, this refusal to give in, that causes Calthar to begin questioning everything he thought he knew about warfare. The Zorothians are precise, calculated, and strong, but these humans are something else entirely. They fight with a willpower and creativity that could never be predicted. By the end of the exercise, the humans have emerged victorious once again, despite the many challenges they faced. As Calthar stands among the Zorothian delegation, watching the cadets celebrate their hard-fought victory, he feels a growing sense of unease. These humans have something that no amount of technology, no amount of training can prepare him for. The Zorothians have conquered empires, defeated entire civilizations, but if there's one thing that frightens Calthar, it's this: he can't predict what the humans will do next, and that unpredictability may be the most dangerous weapon of all. As Calthar watches the humans celebrate their victory in the war game, a creeping sense of discomfort settles over him. The chaos, the unpredictability, and the sheer audacity of their tactics leave him unsettled. But the Academy's leadership is not finished with their demonstrations. Calthar is invited to witness one more training exercise, the ultimate test of a human soldier's ingenuity and tactical prowess. This is not a simple mock battle. This is a test of strategy, sabotage, and unconventional warfare, where the cadets must use everything at their disposal to outsmart the opposition. The stage is set in a massive underground facility designed to replicate a real-world battlefield, complete with booby traps, simulated enemy forces, and various environmental challenges. The cadets are given limited resources and told to complete their objectives within a set amount of time. Calthar watches as the human soldiers, fully aware of the stakes, break into smaller teams. Each group receives a specific mission, but the parameters are loose. There is no clear-cut path to victory. The human cadets must adapt to the circumstances and outthink the simulation's defenses. To Calthar, this is nothing short of madness. The Zorothians would never place their soldiers in such a volatile, uncontrolled environment. Every aspect of warfare is planned, every contingency accounted for. The idea of throwing soldiers into an unpredictable situation with minimal instructions feels reckless to him. The exercise begins, and at first, Calthar watches in disbelief as the cadets immediately break off into different strategies. One team races ahead, cutting through obstacles with brutal efficiency, while another group takes a more cautious approach, slowly scouting out the simulated environment to understand the layout. What Calthar doesn't anticipate is how each cadet reacts with lightning speed. Lieutenant Winters, for example, quickly identifies a weakness in the simulation's defenses, an unprotected entrance to a control room, and seizes the opportunity to infiltrate. Meanwhile, another group led by Sergeant Moore disables the security systems, allowing their teammates to slip past the enemy's defenses unnoticed. There's no set plan, no clear chain of command. Each cadet is using their initiative to adapt and improvise. Calthar's unease grows with each passing minute. The cadets are making it up as they go, yet they always seem to be one step ahead. Even when they run into setbacks, they react instantly, adjusting their strategy without hesitation. One cadet, Private Garcia, realizes that the enemy has set a trap using drones, but instead of falling back, he turns the situation to his advantage, using the drone's own signals to jam them and create a diversion. Calthar watches in astonishment, unsure how to process what he's seeing. The humans aren't following a script. They are rewriting the rules of warfare as they go. They are turning every obstacle into an opportunity, a strategy that appears as chaotic as it is brilliant. By the time the exercise concludes, the human cadets have accomplished their objectives with remarkable success. Some of the teams were almost completely outnumbered and outgunned, yet they prevailed through sheer determination, creativity, and adaptability. Calthar is left speechless. He had assumed that the key to military superiority lay in control, precision, and strength. But the humans had just proven that unpredictability, ingenuity, and a willingness to act on instinct could overcome even the most formidable challenges. The Zerothians had never encountered an enemy that operated in this way. Their entire approach to warfare, calculated, methodical, and based on a clear set of principles, suddenly seemed inadequate. As Calthar steps away from the training ground, he finds himself questioning everything he thought he knew about warfare. The humans, despite their relatively primitive technology and smaller numbers, have a quality that no other species he's encountered possesses: the ability to think in ways that defy logic and strategy. This realization is both exhilarating and terrifying. For the first time in his career, Calthar feels as though he is facing an enemy that cannot be predicted, controlled, or easily understood. And in that realization, a terrifying thought emerges. Perhaps humanity is not just a potential ally after all. Perhaps they are a threat unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen. The next day, Commander Calthar finds himself invited to observe an entirely different kind of training exercise, one that will test the human cadet's ability to perform under extreme pressure. This time, the exercise involves sabotage and unconventional warfare. The cadets must infiltrate a heavily guarded simulation facility, steal critical information, and escape without being detected or neutralized. As Calthar arrives, he notices the sharp contrast between the usual military drills and the nature of this test. There's an air of tension, but it's the kind of tension that comes with excitement, not dread. The cadets are eager, almost enthusiastic, as they gather their equipment and prepare for what seems like a dangerous and high-stakes challenge. Calthar watches from a command center overlooking the simulation. Below him, the cadets move in groups, communicating in hushed tones as they enter the simulated enemy facility. The Zerothian commander expects to see careful, calculated movements as the cadets try to stay out of sight and avoid detection. But once again, the humans surprise him. The cadets don't operate in the precise, calculated manner Calthar is familiar with. Instead, they use their surroundings in ways that seem chaotic, but are, in fact, highly effective. One cadet, Private Thompson, finds a ventilation shaft and climbs into it with barely a glance at the security cameras. Another group, led by Lieutenant Dunn, sets up a series of decoys to divert attention while the real mission unfolds. Calthar watches as the humans engage in a strange mixture of stealth, sabotage, and sheer audacity. They are working with minimal information, improvising in the moment, yet they move with an uncanny sense of purpose. As the exercise progresses, Calthar's confusion deepens. The cadets are constantly adjusting their tactics, shifting their focus to exploit new vulnerabilities. In one instance, Sergeant Hill's team encounters a group of simulated guards in a hallway. Instead of avoiding confrontation, they initiate a diversion by hacking into the facility's communication system, sending false orders to the guards and causing them to split up. The guards, now disoriented, are easy targets for the cadets. The Zerothian commander is left speechless by how quickly the humans adapt. There is no rigidity in their actions, only fluidity and adaptability. Despite the apparent disorder, the human cadets are moving in perfect synchronization. Calthar realizes that this is the true strength of humanity's approach to warfare, their ability to react to anything, to turn the unexpected into an advantage. It's not about following the plan. It's about responding to the situation with speed, creativity, and boldness. There's a fluidity to their actions, an energy that defies the rigid structure Calthar is used to. At one point, Lieutenant Dunn and her team are caught by enemy forces, but rather than panicking, they use their environment to their advantage, taking shelter in a nearby maintenance room and using the facility's own security systems to lock down the doors, buying themselves enough time to regroup. Calthar is transfixed. The humans, despite their relatively limited technological resources compared to the Zeruffians, are exploiting every opportunity. They understand the environment, the enemy, and each other in ways that defy the conventional limits of military training. They use everything they have, no matter how small or insignificant, as a tool to outsmart their adversaries. Calthar has watched countless battles, but this is something entirely different. The human cadets don't just fight to win. They fight to outthink, outmaneuver, and surprise their enemies at every turn. By the end of the exercise, all the cadets have successfully completed their missions, having used their unconventional tactics to disable security systems, sabotage key installations, and steal critical intelligence. Calthar's admiration for their skill grows, but so does his fear. He's seen the Zerothian way of fighting. It is based on control, precision, and strength. But the humans, they are operating in a way that can't be contained, a way that cannot be anticipated. This quality, this unrelenting creativity and willingness to embrace the unknown, has left Calthar with an unsettling realization. The Zerothians are not the only ones who can be unpredictable in war. Humans, it seems, are just as capable of turning the tide in their favor, but they do it without ever following the rules. After days of intense training exercises, Calthar begins to feel a sense of urgency creeping into his thoughts. He is no longer simply observing. He is starting to comprehend the gravity of what he has witnessed. The humans, with their unpredictability and relentless creativity, have disrupted his perception of warfare. Despite their technological limitations, they have proven themselves more than capable of outthinking and outmaneuvering opponents that, on paper, should be far superior to them. Every exercise, every simulation has made one thing clear. The humans do not fight like any other species, and it is this difference, this wild ingenuity, that begins to haunt Calthar. The following day, the humans arrange a special demonstration for Calthar, one that will showcase the core of their military philosophy. It's not a traditional combat simulation. Instead, it is a live-fire training exercise, where cadets are placed in an environment that mirrors the chaos of real warfare. The objective is to conduct a joint operation where cadets must infiltrate an enemy stronghold, seize control of key resources, and escape undetected. Calthar is intrigued, but also apprehensive. He has seen enough to know that the human way of fighting is anything but predictable. The Academy officials explain that the cadets will be allowed to choose their own tactics, their own tools, and even their own team members. It is a test of resourcefulness and adaptability. A stark contrast to the Zerothian way of command, where orders are absolute and deviation is unacceptable. The exercise begins and Calthar watches as the cadets immediately disperse. He expects them to form into organized units, but once again, the humans defy expectations. Lieutenant Williams, the commanding officer of one of the teams, doesn't stick to a clear, centralized strategy. Instead, she allows each of her squad members to make independent decisions, trusting in their judgment and initiative. Some cadets move swiftly and quietly. Others employ deception, setting up false signals to mislead enemy forces. A group of cadets led by Sergeant Mallory sets up an elaborate distraction, using smoke grenades and decoy drones to draw the enemy's attention away from the main objective. Meanwhile, another team infiltrates through the ventilation systems, using a combination of hacking and stealth to bypass enemy defenses. Calthar is stunned by the complete lack of cohesion in the traditional sense. There are no rigid formations or centralized commands. Instead, the cadets work like individual agents within a larger framework, each trusting their instincts and working toward a common goal without the need for constant coordination. It's a form of collective intelligence that is unlike anything Calthar has ever seen. Each move seems to flow from the last, and the overall strategy begins to take shape, not through a single mind, but through the combined efforts of each cadet. What strikes Calthar the most is the relentless drive to succeed. The cadets do not allow setbacks to hinder their progress. When one team is caught in an ambush, they don't freeze in fear. They adapt. They think on their feet and find ways to turn the tables, using the enemy's own weaknesses against them. Even when resources are scarce, the cadets seem to find ways to maximize what little they have. Calthar watches as Sergeant Mallory's team uses an old, outdated drone that has been repurposed into a highly effective weapon of distraction. The cadets don't just use tools, they make them their own, finding new ways to turn the tide of battle. By the time the exercise ends, the humans have completed their mission with precision and creativity. They have infiltrated the enemy's stronghold, neutralized threats, and secured vital resources, all without following any predictable pattern. Calthar stands in silence, watching as the cadets congratulate each other, their faces flushed with excitement and accomplishment. There is no arrogance in their demeanor, no boastful pride. Instead, there is something more, a quiet, unshakable confidence that comes from knowing they can adapt to anything, from understanding that success lies in the ability to think beyond conventional limits. Calthar, however, is far from confident. He is deeply troubled. The humans' methods are unpredictable, yes, but they are also terrifyingly effective. It is as if they are not bound by any of the rules that govern war, and that makes them all the more dangerous. In that moment, Calthar realizes something profound. This is not just a military academy, it is a breeding ground for a new kind of warfare, one that the Zeruthians are ill-prepared to face. And with each passing day, the growing realization sinks deeper. Humanity might not be a threat they can easily overcome. Calthar's mind races as he sits in the observation room, unable to shake the unsettling feeling that has been growing within him since his arrival. Each exercise, each demonstration of human military strategy has forced him to confront the glaring truth. The Zeruthians, with their advanced technology and rigid methodologies, are no match for the fluid, instinct-driven warfare the humans are perfecting. The chaos, the unpredictability, it is something that cannot be quantified or countered with brute force alone. The final day of his visit approaches, and Calthar is given one last chance to observe the cadets in action. This exercise is different from the others. It's a live-fire, high-intensity simulation that mirrors a real-world military conflict. The cadets are tasked with securing a heavily fortified compound while fending off simulated enemy forces. The stakes are high, and the pressure is palpable. The cadets are aware that this is their final opportunity to prove their skills, and the Zeruthian commander is watching. At the start of the exercise, Calthar expects to see the usual chaos that has become characteristic of the human approach to combat. But this time, something catches him off guard. The cadets move with a level of coordination that he hasn't seen before. Lieutenant Williams, who has led her team through countless exercises, begins by giving clear, concise orders. But there is no blind obedience. The cadets are still improvising, adapting to every new challenge that arises, but this time there is an underlying sense of unity. The chaos doesn't feel like random madness. It feels like controlled chaos, as though each cadet understands their role in the larger strategy. Calthar watches as the cadets face down overwhelming enemy forces. At first, it seems like they will be overrun, but then, just as he begins to think the tide is turning against them, Sergeant Mallory makes a move that leaves him speechless. Instead of retreating or reinforcing their position, Mallory's squad rushes forward, using the terrain and the environment to break the enemy's line of sight. They attack from unexpected angles, hitting the enemy in their weakest spots. The Zorothian commander is taken aback by how effortlessly the humans seem to execute their plans. The humans are adapting, yes, but they are also learning. Every mistake is turned into a lesson, and every success is used to refine their approach. The cadets aren't just reacting to the enemy, they are shaping the battlefield itself. They take advantage of the smallest opening, the slightest distraction, and use it to gain the upper hand. Calthar realizes that their approach to warfare is not just about ingenuity, it's about understanding how to learn, how to evolve with every engagement. The Zorothians may have advanced technology, but they lack the flexibility that the humans bring to the table. This flexibility, this willingness to constantly reassess and adjust, is what makes them so formidable. As the exercise draws to a close, the humans have successfully completed their mission, securing the compound and neutralizing the enemy forces with a combination of sheer determination and intelligent strategy. Calthar's mind reels. It is not just the humans' ability to improvise that makes them dangerous. It is their capacity to evolve, to learn, and to innovate with each new challenge. They are not simply adapting. They are progressing in ways that make them unpredictable and uncontrollable. Calthar steps out of the observation room, his thoughts in turmoil. He had come to this academy expecting to witness a simple demonstration of human potential, but what he has seen has shattered his understanding of warfare. The Zorothians have prided themselves on their ability to control the battlefield, to calculate every move with precision. But the humans have shown him something entirely different. They don't control the battlefield. They shape it, they bend it to their will in ways that the Zorothians are ill-equipped to anticipate. As Calthar prepares to leave the academy, he can no longer deny the truth. Humanity is not just a rising power. They are an unpredictable force, one that will change the balance of power in the galaxy. And that is a truth that terrifies him more than anything else he has ever encountered. As the final day of the Stalwart Academy draws to a close, Calthar stands alone in the observation room, gazing out at the horizon. The weight of what he has witnessed presses heavily on his shoulders. He had arrived with the belief that the Zorothians were the pinnacle of military power, that their control, their technological superiority, would allow them to dominate any battlefield. But now, all of that feels like an illusion. The humans, despite their relatively primitive technology and smaller numbers, possess something far more dangerous: the ability to adapt and evolve in ways that no other species can match. Calthar's encounter with the human military has forced him to confront a painful truth. He has underestimated them. The audacity of their tactics, the fluidity of their strategies, and their ability to learn and adjust on the fly have left him shaken. The Zorothian way of war, based on precision and calculated strikes, is no longer enough. He realizes now that the Zorothians have never truly understood the essence of warfare. Their focus on control, on dominating the battlefield through sheer force and numbers, has blinded them to the one quality that makes humans so dangerous: their relentless drive to adapt, to think outside the confines of tradition. Calthar's thoughts are interrupted as he is escorted to the Academy's main conference room, where he will meet with the human commanders to debrief. As he enters the room, the cadets he has observed are gathered around, their expressions a mixture of exhaustion and pride. There is no arrogance, no boastful celebration. Instead, there is quiet confidence, a deep understanding that they have accomplished something remarkable. Calthar, though still deeply unsettled, knows that he must pay respect to their skill and determination. Commander Dunn, who has been the de facto leader of the cadets throughout his visit, stands up to greet him. "Commander Calthar," she says, her voice steady but warm, "I hope you've seen what we're capable of. We're proud of our training, and we know what we can achieve when we work together." Calthar nods, struggling to find the right words. "I have seen more than I expected. The Zorothian way of war is precise and calculated. But what I have witnessed here, you fight with something that is beyond tactics and technology. You fight with an instinct, a creativity, and a drive that no other species I've encountered has. I am impressed. The room falls silent. The cadets exchange glances, some of them smiling, others simply acknowledging the compliment. But Calthar can see something in their eyes, something more than pride. It is the quiet understanding that they are not just capable, they are a force to be reckoned with. Humanity, in all its unpredictability, has the potential to change the very nature of war itself. Dunn steps forward, her expression serious. Commander, you've seen the way we fight. You've seen how we adapt to every challenge. We don't fight by anyone else's rules, and we never will. But we believe in one thing above all else, our will to survive and our will to protect each other. If you ever find yourself facing us on the battlefield, I hope you remember that. Calthar's gaze hardens, and he feels the weight of her words. This is not a threat, not a boast. It is a simple, undeniable truth. The humans do not just fight to win. They fight for something deeper, something that cannot be defeated by mere firepower or advanced technology. As Calthar departs the academy, the image of humanity's unyielding resolve lingers in his mind. He had arrived with the conviction that the Zerothians would one day dominate the galaxy, but now that vision seems increasingly distant. The humans, in their sheer unpredictability and ingenuity, have proven that they are not just survivors. They are a force capable of shaping the future in ways that Calthar cannot even begin to comprehend. The galaxy, it seems, is not destined to be ruled by the Zerothians alone. Humanity, with its fierce spirit and relentless innovation, will change the balance of power forever. And Calthar knows one thing with certainty. No matter where the future takes them, the humans will never be a force to ignore.